you said it's irresponsible to blame Black women for their struggles with obesity, right? Could you elaborate more on that?
Sure. A lot of the focus with many people, like with many folks who are struggling with obesity or just being like overweight in general, a lot of the focus, the onus is put on the individual, like behaviors. Like you're not choosing the proper food, you're not choosing to work out, right? So you're just focusing on the individual factor, which really just accounts for a very small percentage of the contribution to someone's health journey. It's more to that. Like our behaviors are influenced by a lot, both intrinsic, like those factors that we control, and extrinsic. Those are those external factors that actually play a huge role on our behaviors, what we decide. It's like your culture, your social norms and values, where you grew up, that dictate some of your behavior choices. And then there's what sectors of influence that controls a lot. Not only controls what the kind of decisions you make, but it controls policies, it controls like where you live. And that's another factor, environmental settings, where you live, where you work, where you learn, where you play. That also plays important pieces in your health.
I wanted to add to family structure and support system because unfortunately there is a high number of single mothers within our culture, and I don't see if you don't have help, the health part. Not saying it can't happen, but it seems to be very difficult when you don't have support to go off and do certain things and get a little time to yourself. You know.
Right? Because personally, like, what if I didn't have my partner to watch the child when I need to go and work out? Like, most people don't have that. And if you're working several jobs, where do you find time to exercise? And especially if your job doesn't require a lot of movement and you're just like sitting at a desk or you're driving a bus. I don't mean to put transit workers out there, but you see, I think if someone really looked into it, they'll see high rates of obesity amongst like transit workers. And those type of like jobs where there isn't movement, like what do you expect? And so if you're working multiple jobs and jobs where there's no movement, like how can you sustain like a doable or the level of fitness that you need in order to maintain a healthy body weight? That's impossible. And then if you live in an area where there's little to no access to healthy foods, then what are you going to do? Like, what is your nutrition going to look like? And if you don't have time, many people don't have time. Like, if you're working hours and hours, where's the time to prepare wholesome meals? And all of that is a factor of your environmental setting, is a factor of like culture and your social norms. It's a factor of social influences, policies that like impact your access to jobs, your income level, your education level, all that goes into like if you don't have like a higher education level, what kind of jobs are you going to get? You're more prone to get those type of jobs where you're working multiple hours or you're doing some job where there's low level of movement. So again, it's outside of just to say somebody's behavior. It's removing all the other larger factors that play a more important role in our decisions and in our health.
And listening to you talk, I'm thinking about a deeper conversation we need to have as a culture in regards to family planning. I think if we were more proactive in regards to that approach and thinking about how that impacts us and making sure we have a support system within reason. I know things happen. Because when I'm listening to you talk, I'm hearing how family planning plays a big role on our health. Because if you're by yourself, it seems like it's much harder to maintain. I'm not saying it's impossible. People get all excited. Not saying it's impossible, but it seems more difficult when you don't have a certain level of support.
It is more difficult. It isn't impossible, but it's very difficult. And then what effect does that have on your mental health? And mental health is connected to physical health. I don't know why people treat it as separates because our brains are connected to the rest of our bodies. That's actually the command center. So if our mental health is impacted, then how do we expect our physical health? And I think the stress of having to possibly work multiple jobs, to be the sole provider for not only yourself, but for your kids, like, that's too much. And I know people like to be super women, but I want to know the mental state of these super women. Like, there is some sacrifice that happens as a sacrifice to their mental health and as a sacrifice to their physical health. And again, it's not impossible, but why put yourself in that position? And it's not good for the kids. It's not good for the kids because then they learn behaviors, right? If they are not seeing their parent working out or eating healthy, then they're more likely to continue those habits. And so this is a new generation with those unhealthy behaviors.
Learn behaviors.
Learn behaviors.